There's 3 to play. There's a bit to work out for the Lions after an untimely defeat in Tassie yesterday. The task for Chris Fagan as he enters the lock-up in Joondalup, and for David Noble, the upswing is obviously there. And they fought the whole way with the Cats but ended up the wrong side of the results. So our 2 coaches are in defeats tonight. They join us. They're old colleagues in their own right. Chris Fagan, welcome back to AFL 360.
Thanks, Gerard.
David Noble, great to have you with us.
Pleasure, Gerard.
So, Fags, could you just run an eye over David for us? He seems to have retained his sanity through the first 20 rounds of his coaching.
Yeah, he's done well. And the good thing about it is his teams continue to improve throughout the year. So when you first go to a club that's been struggling for a while, that's really all you want to see in your first year. So I'm imagining right now he's feeling like he might be able to give it a tick at the end of the year, although he'll still be impatient for better performance, I'm sure.
And David, have you had the odd moment of old affinity with him thinking, oh, right, that's what he was going through?
I have, Gerard. Yes, we quite often would have those discussions on a regular basis in the early couple of years. So, no, I've bounced a couple of things off Fags during the year, so I appreciate his confidence.
There's nothing simple about these times, Fags. If we'd been able to see you today in Joondalup, where would we have seen you pacing around?
Well, there's a car park with a wire fence around it just off to the side of the resort, mate. So I would have spent a couple of hours walking around there just sort of processing a lot of the stuff that happened yesterday, and then the rest of the time I would have spent in front of the computer and, looking at the tape and breaking it down and, learning some lessons and hopefully come up with a better performance than we did yesterday next week.
It's hard when you're quarantined in a small area, Fags. You keep running into people. Were the players avoiding eye contact with you?
No, they weren't, Jace. I think, I suppose it's easy after a game where you're expected to win and you lose to carry on a bit as a coach, but I'm fairly mindful of the times that we're in, and we are spending a lot of time together in buses and planes and at accommodation facilities. So I think it's best to keep the relationships on a good even par and just appeal to the better nature of the players to respond next week, which I'm sure they will.
So Joondalup as a starting point, is it true that you and Melbourne will trade places at some stage this week so that they can get the fresh air and you'll have the city lockdown?
Yeah, that's right. So I think we have a swap over on Thursday, which is fair enough. I mean, both of us are here, so it seems the fairest way to go about things.
So, David, we've heard Damien Hardwick talk about the difficulties and the challenges this year. I know it's tough, but everyone's facing these hurdles. Some had it tougher last year and had a better run. Some have got it tougher this year. Is it just a matter of dealing with whatever comes your way? How are you finding it individually?
Yeah, I think that's right, Jace. I think at the beginning of the year we were all expecting or hopeful that things may not be like they were last year, but I think we were briefed early that the governments and the borders, may need to react quicker than they ever have done before, and so therefore our ability to adjust and move quickly is something that we just had to be prepared for. I mean, we've been lucky. We've been to Sydney, been to Gold Coast for a little bit, and then down to Tassie backwards and forwards a couple of times. So we've been lucky that the Tassie government supported us really well, and apart from that, we've had some days in lockdown here, and in comparison to other teams, we've probably not been too badly affected.
Is it wearing the players down mentally?
It can do. I think it's how you approach it. I think if you can look at it as, at times there are opportunities. Look, we haven't had to do what I know Fags has had to do a couple of times, and certainly we haven't had to do what Melbourne have been through. So we feel for those guys, and it can be difficult. We're nearly there, and so therefore I think there's light at the end of the tunnel to get the season done and get into the finals.
Fags, do you feel like there's a cumulative toll as this season throws up different variations every week?
Well, I think COVID's taking its cumulative toll on everybody in society, Gerard. And football's no different to that. In another way, I talk to our players a lot about during these sort of times. You got to practice gratitude and think about all the good things, and that helps you get through and it builds resilience. And I think for us involved in AFL football, we're still getting the opportunity to do what we love every week. We're still getting paid, and there's lots of people out there who aren't in the same situation. So I think it depends on how you look at it. And, no doubt it has its challenge on a daily basis. And I'll put my own hand up. Sometimes you just get sick of the change and the uncertainty, but you've got to push on.
And what the last little bit's going to look like. So notionally, your last 2 games at the Gabba, which are well-deserved games, particularly the Collingwood reverse fixture. Do things feel a bit ominous from a Queensland perspective?
Well, it does, because there's cases up there, I guess, and you wonder what's going to happen. But at this stage, we're expecting that will be the case. There was lockdown in Melbourne, and then games are still being played down there. So I'm sure a similar thing can be organised at the Gabba. It'd be good to have a couple of home games to finish the season off. I think we've only played there 8 times this year, which is not a high number. So we'd look forward to that. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen, and we'll just have to roll with the punches.
David, you must be encouraged by what you're seeing, particularly in the second half of the season. The ability to be competitive. You took it up to a good team in Geelong on the weekend. What is it that's pleased you the most in 2021 about the playing group?
I think that the level of energy for us to continue to perform on a regular basis now, Jace, I think is there consistently. I think the thirst for learning, I think we've created an environment where our players and staff are wanting to come to work and continue to improve. So I think that's the aspect, and I think internally our leadership group have been fantastic this year and are really driving the standards, particularly around our training methodology.
Well, it just seems when you get a new coach at a club, it takes a while to bed down a game plan for the players to buy in. It just appears that they're believing in the direction they're heading in now. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, it is, absolutely. We set a pretty simple template early that we've stuck to rigidly. We've gone about training that template. We reviewed that template really simply. We think our education has been really pointy. I think it allows our players to be functional on the ground, and now we're seeing the results of being able to sort of, I guess, just be deliberate around holding our line towards what we want to do.
Fags, how concerned are you with the way your Lions are playing over the past, say, 4 games?
Yeah, there are some concerns there, Gerard. I mean, we've in all of those games, we've seen glimpses of our best, but for some reason or other, we've become a little bit inconsistent with it. I'm not sure whether we had a patch there where we won 10 out of 11 games, and after we had a slow start to the season. So whether that's taken its toll a little bit, I'm not sure. But all teams seem to go through a phase during the season where you can just go off the boil a little bit. And, the challenge for us now is we've probably lost the opportunity to finish top 4, but I'm sure that we will play finals. So we've just got to get ourselves ready to be in great shape by the time the finals come. And then, anything can happen. The players are really disappointed with yesterday, particularly with the way we finished the game. It showed what the possibilities could have been had we been able to play with real energy and desperation from the start, but we weren't able to. And Hawthorn were fantastic yesterday. I mean, they came with real heat and real energy to win the football, and they played a great brand. And it was, it reminded me of the game they played against the Swans about 6 weeks ago, where they beat them by about 6 goals at the SCG. It was they came with a similar attitude, and we were. I thought we were ready, but they were better than us, and they deserved their win. So we've just got to get back to doing that very same thing ourselves. That's our brand, and we've got to find it again.
Fags, how have you viewed the season of Charlie Cameron? We know what he's capable of. To me, he looks like the spark that Brisbane desperately needs. You've got no Hipwood up forward now, so him at his best, I think, would make a huge difference. But the games I've seen, he hasn't quite been able to find his best form.
Yeah, a few weeks ago when we played Geelong and had that terrific win, he was up and about and playing some of his best football. But the last couple of weeks he's struggled a little bit. But with small forwards, that can be the case. It can be difficult. Yesterday we only had 40 inside 50 entries, which is a very low number for us. So there wasn't a great number of opportunities there. So we've got to get it in there a little bit more often. And probably with Charlie, he's like all the forwards. The best thing they can focus on really is their defence. And it's probably been coming out of our forward 50 a little bit easily in more recent times, and it's been a strength of ours. So we've just got to get back to it. And he's one of those players that's included in that group.
I just wanted to ask you about Leigh Neal, because since his injury issues, he's come back into the side. He's not having that same impact. Is he just finding it tough with the body perhaps not 100%?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of he missed, 6 or 7 weeks of football, so he's trying to find his match fitness again, and he had a bit of a whack on the shoulder against Geelong and a little calf injury, so he hasn't had a lot of continuity this season. Hopefully in the next few weeks he can find it and he hits the finals, full of running. That's the hope, but it's been a tough year for him. It's been a brave effort for him to continue on under the circumstances that he's playing under most weeks.
And David, without invading any privacies, just have you been able to have conversations with Ben Cunningham since his health issues were revealed last week?
Yes, I have, Gerard. He's travelling really well, he and Belinda, which is, terrific from that side of things. We've been able to put a really good support plan in place, behind the scenes for Ben through the club. And, we've been in regular contact from that side of things. So things are okay at the moment.
That's good to hear. Chris Fagan, we listened to you yesterday at the press conference and your reflections on Alastair Clarkson. I think you probably summed it up as well as anybody has. Knowing all the people involved, are you sad that it's ending the way that it is?
Yeah, I think so, Gerard. I mean, I suppose we all have this idealistic view that we'll go out on good terms, but I thought if one person could do that, realistically, it would be Clarko, given what he's contributed to Hawthorn over the years. And, I was privy for 9 years to see the work that he did and how he set up the club. So, I think Hawthorn have a lot to be grateful for, and I'm sure that they are, but I just feel like the process, the way it was played out from a distance, as I said, I'm not inside the club, but it just seemed to me that it could have been done a little bit better with a bit more integrity and a bit more privacy.
Do you hope that he coaches again in some circumstances?
Yeah, I do hope so. I hope he's not lost to the game, and if he does go to another club, they'll be have the benefit of a great coach with a wide range of experience, and I'm sure they'd become a force in a short space of time.
The other theory kicking around is he should go to the AFL. Imagine what he'd do to holding the ball, Fags.
There could be an element of chaos if Al was allowed to go to the AFL. It would be interesting, and nevertheless, there'd never be a dull moment. But I'm not sure that he'd like to go down that pathway.
Now, David, in one of the other games on the weekend, Essendon got to the 4-minute mark of the final quarter, 4 minutes left in the game. No interchanges left. Dylan Shield stuck on the bench. How does something like that happen, and where does the responsibility lie in terms of managing those numbers?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Jay. So I would imagine that it's probably with the sports science or the guys that are running the bench to make that call, and hopefully Truck would have been informed of the countdown coming through. I know we certainly have a mechanism to let us know when we get to sort of within 5, so we can manoeuvre the players on the field that we need to, or that we'd like to have on the field to finish the game.
So, Fags, if you get the call with a few minutes to go and there's a Zorko or a McCluggage or an Andrews on the bench, or a couple of them, they say, we've actually run out of interchange, how's your reacting going to be on the day, do you think?
Oh, I don't think I'll be too impressed. You always like your best players on the ground when the game's there to be won. So, we've not had that problem. We're pretty well organised with our system, and usually it doesn't let us down.
Have you gone close before where you've actually had to say we better not do a couple of changes because we're getting very, very close to the edge?
I can't remember a time. They've usually been pretty good with it. So, I guess the challenge would come if a game goes longer than normal, if there's a lot of time on, that's when it can click in. But so far, so good at the Lions.
David, do you usually use them all up or come up just a fraction short?
No, we normally exhaust them all, Gerard. We normally have a method in the last part of each of the quarters. We try to maybe bank an extra one in the first half, and that gives you a bit of a spare coming into the back end, depending on whether or not you've got guys that need one rotation or two. So, we seem like we've got a reasonably solid system in place at the moment.
And you'll get a look at Richmond, David. So we're sort of all waiting. Is there one last heroic stance in them? I suppose you'll be hoping it doesn't arrive on Saturday.
That'd be nice, Gerard. A little bit might be up to us to sort of put our best foot forward again. So, look, we love the fact that in the 4 games that have remained from last week going home, we potentially play 3 finalists. The Cats was the first one. The Tigers are still in the hunt for the finals, and we play Sydney beyond that. So for our young group, the excitement is to put our best foot forward and continue to get experiences and learn going into next year.
David, Chris, I really appreciate your time as ever, and so let's hope that the games go forward as scheduled, and good luck for round 21.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
David Noble and Chris Fagan with us on AFL 360.